So, if you grew up in the 1970s, your brain got wired in a way that just can't ever happen again. There's something really unique about that experience, and the psychology behind it is exactly what we're going to break down today. Let's dive right in. We're going to walk through 5 key ideas. We'll kick things off with what we're calling the 70s paradox, then look at how you all became masters of your own entertainment. We'll get into how you were calibrated by risk, and the school of patience you all unknowingly attended. And finally, we'll ask the big question. Did this all give you a skill set that's basically extinct today? Okay, first up, the 70s paradox. Now, this is a really interesting and frankly counterintuitive idea. It's the notion that less parental supervision, what some people today might even call neglect, actually ended up building a more capable and resilient generation. And this quote right here, it just gets straight to the point. Our default thinking today is that more parental involvement, more oversight has to equal better outcomes for kids. But the source material for this explainer makes a bold claim. The entire 70s generation stands as proof that that assumption is just dead wrong. And this visual just lays it out so clearly, doesn't it? On the left, you've got the 70s kid, outside, running around, making up their own games. And on the right, you have the more common modern experience, indoors, kind of slouched, focused on a screen. The difference is just huge, and it absolutely created a different kind of person. So the key psychological term for what was happening here is something called adaptive autonomy. It's basically the state you enter when you learn to manage yourself and figure out the world without an adult constantly holding your hand. This wasn't some fancy parenting strategy, It was just life, and it fundamentally rewired the brain. All right, let's move on to our second point and see how this all builds. We're talking about becoming masters of self-direction. And believe it or not, it all started with something our modern world tries to get rid of at all costs: boredom. Oh man, do you remember saying this? It was the classic childhood complaint, right? You're 8 years old, it's a long Saturday afternoon, and you wander up to your parents with this exact question. But the answer you got, well, it was probably a lot different from what a kid would hear today. And there it is, the parental ultimatum. We all knew what that meant, didn't we? It meant chores. Cleaning the garage, something, anything that you definitely did not want to do. So what happened? You went and figured it out yourself. Fast. So when you really think about it, what's happening here is incredible. Your brain was literally being trained to solve the most fundamental problem of life: what to do with your own time. You weren't just given a list of activities. You had to create purpose out of thin air. This is a huge reason why so many people from that era can step into a chaotic situation and just start figuring things out. Okay, on to our third point, being calibrated by risk. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. Climbing trees that were definitely too high, riding your bike with no helmet, and building rickety ramps that, let's be honest, had no business supporting your weight. This slide just breaks down that learning loop perfectly. You'd try something risky, like a crazy bike jump. Then you'd experience a very direct, very immediate consequence, like a scraped knee. And from that experience, you developed a real gut-level sense of threat assessment. You learned your own limits through good old-fashioned trial and error. Now, the long-term effect of all this is absolutely profound. Studies actually show that kids who get to experience physical risk during play tend to develop lower levels of baseline anxiety as adults. Every fall, every close call, it taught your nervous system the crucial difference between real danger and just manageable risk. It's why you can often stay calm in a genuine crisis while others might panic. All right, let's get into our fourth section, which we're calling the School of Patience. This is all about learning 2 really critical skills that, frankly, modern life seems designed to destroy: emotional regulation and delayed gratification. Just think about this for a second. If someone was mean to you at school, you at home, and you just had to deal with that feeling. You couldn't instantly text your friends or scroll social media for distraction. You had to sit with that feeling until it passed. And what a powerful lesson that is. Emotions come and emotions go. They aren't in charge. And this is just a perfect illustration of delayed gratification. You wanted to watch your favorite show? Well, you waited all week long. And if it ended on a cliffhanger, you waited 7 more days. There was no streaming, no binging. Your entire childhood was basically one long exercise in learning how to wait. And that training, it had some massive real-world payoffs. We now know from research that people who learn delayed gratification have better impulse control, they tend to have more stable relationships, and even better career outcomes. Turns out, patience isn't just a virtue, it's a practical superpower. So, this brings us to our final section. And if you've ever looked around at the world today and just felt a little out of sync, this part is for you. We're going to reframe those skills you learned in the 70s, not as outdated, but as incredibly rare and valuable. I love this table because it perfectly recontextualizes these traits. That fierce independence you have that some might misinterpret as being cold, that's not coldness, it's competence. That comfort you have just being quiet, which can feel awkward today, that's depth. And that ability to just wait for something, which can look like being passive, that's not passivity, that's discipline. So let's land on this because it's such a key takeaway. The source material says it bluntly, but it's powerful. You survived a childhood that could literally get parents arrested today. And the thing is, it didn't damage you, it built you. For this really brief window in human history, childhood was both incredibly free and deeply educational in a way that's almost impossible to replicate now. You grew up in a world that trusted kids to be capable, a world where boredom was your teacher and scraped knees were just part of the curriculum. And that leaves us with one last big question to think about. If you're a 70s kid, what's the one essential experience from that time, the freedom, the boredom, the risk, that you truly wish kids today could have?